This video is brought to you by Moft. Ever since my last iPad guide, I've had people asking me to do a similar overview video on the iPhone, sharing beginners' concepts, tips and tricks, apps, and even accessories. So today I'm excited to share some essentials that I use that can help you get the most out of your iPhone. Most of what we'll talk about today are my personal choices and applications that can work great on modern day iPhones as well as previous generation devices. All the products that we talk about in this video will be linked in the description below. Let's start with some core integrations. I'm a huge fan of iCloud Drive and I use it for pretty much anything. One of the reasons to preach iCloud is that it's tightly integrated with the iPhone. Since I store everything on the iCloud, I share my desktop and documents folder alongside my Mac and the iPad. I can be sure I can access anything I need from the phone as well. For that, I utilize the Files app a lot. Meanwhile, I tend to see people ignoring this default app altogether, which I think is a missed opportunity. When I open the Files app, the tab that I use 99% of the time is the Browse one. I find the recents view messy and I rarely find a need to open my shared folders. When I open the Browse tab on the top, you'll see that I have two cloud connections, one for iCloud and the second for Google Drive. I use G Drive for sharing work-related files and some of my wallpapers and widgets, and for everything else, I use iCloud. With that in mind, I'd recommend you take full advantage of your favorites as I do here. The favorites are quick shortcuts to your most used folders. In fact, my favorites resemble pretty much my Mac Finder's favorites, which I talk more about in my recent How I Set Up a New Mac guide, which I'll link at the end of this video. If I want to open my ThisIsE YouTube folder, I'll end up few folders inside the iCloud, and if I tap back on the Recents tab, I'll go back to my file's default structure. Very efficient way to move back and forth. Note that I use everything in list view, sorted by date, so that newer items always appear on the top. Okay, here's an example of how I use iCloud with the Mac and the iPhone. Right now I'm preparing a thumbnail. Actually, that's an older thumbnail that I did for the S21 Ultra video, but I want to create an image that I can use on Instagram. So for that purpose, I'll just quickly resize that thumbnail and just use the image part of it to export. So all I'll do is export, and I'll just say S23 Ultra IG and save it. And that image is already on my desktop. And in a second, it should appear on the iPhone because I use the synced, oh, there it is, the synced desktop and documents folder. So if we tap here, it will take a second to download it because it's it's actually 10 megabytes. And there it is. Additionally, I scan a lot of documents through the Files app. Every receipt I get gets scanned and saved to my accountings folder, which in turn is shared with accounting. Using the Files built-in scanner is a must to me. Equally important is using the annotations options of the Files app and the ability to place my pre-scanned signatures when necessary. There are two quick ways of navigating around files while dealing with stuff that you want to move around. The first one is to grab a file with the intention to move it, and while holding it, tap on additional files to add to the pile and then move everything around. The second and most used tip that I shared in my iPad guide is to use two fingers to multi-select items and then grab them to move them around. If you want to quickly insert a bunch of items into a folder, you can use two fingers to multi-select them and then press on the More menu, the circle with the little dots, and choose New Folder with X amount of items. By the way, if you end up enjoying this video, subscribe because why not? In terms of photo tips, the one that I love using is the built-in iOS 16 Smart Cutouts. This is where you tap and hold on the subject of a photo that you've taken with the iPhone and you drag it to create a collage. This is an extremely useful feature for generating personal greeting cards and fun images that you can share around holidays or other occasions. In many cases, I use the Pocket version of the Procreate app, which is free by the way, where I insert a desired background and then drag and drop the cutout as intended to create something fun. I may later edit the end result in Lightroom for some final touches. While on the topic of collages, if you have one of the latest iPhones, you can take advantage of the 48 megapixel RAW format if you want to have more freedom and clarity when working with the cutouts. In terms of the Apple ecosystem integration, aside from the iCloud that we just talked about, I can't live without two other things: AirDrop and Universal Clipboard. I send back and forth photos, videos, and files between my Mac and iPhone on a daily basis thanks to AirDrop. Even larger video files are fairly quick to move around, which comes in handy when I do video edits and I find needs to shoot some run-and-gun shots to prove a point. So yeah, AirDrop is a vital tool for me. Universal Clipboard, or the ability to copy something on a Mac to paste it on the iPhone, is equally handy. When I post something on Instagram, for example, I write it first on the Mac. After I've spell checked it and added the necessary hashtag, I can just hit Command-C and then paste it on the iPhone. For messages, I greatly appreciate the ability to undo them in the first 2 minutes window, but most of all, edit them in the initial 15 minutes. Now this comes in very handy when I reply to a message via Siri in the car, only to realize on the next traffic light that Siri messed up the entire purpose of the text. Before we get to the fun home screen and widget part, and of course the multi-purpose accessory choices that I prepared, allow me to tease you my favorite combo that covers 2 categories of accessories into one. This is the Moft Snap Stand Power Set, and it's an extraordinary external battery combined with a 3-in-1 phone stand and wallet. For starters, this is one of the best looking batteries I've seen. It's palm-sized and covered with vegan leather, making it extremely satisfying to hold. The 3400 mAh capacity can top up the iPhone at up to 7.5 watts, but of course you can charge your AirPods or something else that is Qi compatible. In the package, tucked underneath the battery, there's the Moft magnetic 3-in-1 phone stand and wallet, which is where things get extremely practical. Now, I've been preaching about this wallet for a long time, because while storing cards, it can also prop the phone in almost all directions, even floating. Stacked with the battery, you can use the combo while enjoying a meal, working on a desk on its own, or plugged in with the help of the included breakaway magnetic tip cable that snaps into place effortlessly. Moft's Snap Stand Power Set comes in 4 beautiful vegan leather finishes, so be sure to check out the first link in the description below to grab one yourself. When it comes to organization of the iPhone, I would suggest you open the duplicate photo album and use the built-in feature to clear up unnecessary duplicates. That's just a quick tip. In terms of home screen organization, I keep a tight ship. As I've mentioned in my previous videos, I always try to keep a single home screen and utilize a combination of widgets and stacks as best I can, so I can achieve the ultimate efficiency and one-handed use. With that in mind, I have a single home screen where I push most of the used apps towards the bottom for reachability, while keeping a large widget on the top. The widget is actually a stack that holds my large calendar app widget, as well as a clear background thanks to an app called Clear Spaces. At the end of the day, when I want to relax, I swipe away and I see no distractions. The widget itself is my newly created one, which I called Mars. Not sure what inspired me to draw this wallpaper, but it was definitely the reason to create this clean, multi-purpose layout. Behind the planet, I see a large clock, above which I see my weekly calendar view. Below it, I have 2 pill-shaped action bars. The left one holds 2 apps that don't necessarily need to live as apps and take up space below that, which in my case are Notes and the Files app. Next to them, I have the current feels like temperature and conditions outside. Now, if you like this widget, I'll put a link to it in the description below if you want to grab it and support the creator while at it. In terms of apps, some of my most used recents are Flipboard for news, primarily for the quick glance widget that I've placed on the widgets page, something that I really like on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. TickTick is my new favorite to-do app, and I'm not sure why I switched to it so late. An inconspicuous app that I appreciate in the late hours of the day is Noir. This is what converts websites into dark mode versions and preserve my eyes. Of course, WIDGET, which is what I use to tinker and create widgets with, and Clear Spaces for hiding sections of the home screen or simply push icons to the desired location. Let's talk accessories. I'll show you a range of products that I've been testing, some of which you might find inspiring and useful. In terms of cases, I go through various choices as they are a great way to complement the outfit while providing additional functionality. Aside from the Snap Stand Power Set that I teased earlier, Moft has a great new offering which can complement the Snap Set in terms of color and finish, while also be quickly attached to a lanyard, which might come in handy if you travel, for example. Another case that I use a lot is Pitaka's latest Sunset Moment, which is limited edition in terms of color, yet pretty much the same as the standard Mac Easy Case 3. I enjoy it a lot because it is the thinnest and lightest choice, and it comes with crazy strong magnets. Combined with the Mac Easy Grip, this is one practical propping and fidgeting combo which you can barely feel on the iPhone. Of course, no iPhone is complete without AirPods. Out of all AirPods AirPods choices, I much prefer Generation 3, as I can't keep the Pro models for too long in my ears. If you're interested to know about my Pro struggles, I'll be sure to leave a link to my AirPods guide in the description below. Keeping some buds in your EDC at your disposal will give you the freedom to enjoy music, podcasts, and books while commuting or waiting in line. But if your budget is tight and you can't really afford the AirPods, I'm happy to show you a great alternative. These are the Marshall Minor 3, which are very much like the AirPods 3. Aside from looking much better, coming in the typical Marshall high-end black and gold finish, they are more affordable and to some might arguably sound better. Of course, they're not as tightly integrated as the AirPods, but to many of you that won't be a deal breaker. All the products mentioned will be linked in the description below, by the way. The perfect companion to any iPhone is of course the AirTag. I use the holidays to equip all my relatives with those little guys, as they come in very handy and give a great peace of mind. Since I used the Nintendo Switch, there was no reason to look for a better controller alternative. With that in mind, I stumbled upon this Grefay controller adapter for the Joy-Cons, which essentially turns the iPhone into a Nintendo Switch counterpart. Now that you can connect the Joy-Cons to pretty much all Apple devices, this is a great accessory if you want to travel lighter and keep the Switch at home while enjoying awesome titles from the Apple Arcade roster. In terms of stands, there are choices galore. One that I take advantage of at home is Belkin Boost Charge Pro. Now there are cheaper alternatives out there, keep that in mind, and the Belkin is rather expensive but does compensate when it comes to sturdiness. And one thing I would have loved to see is to be able to charge the Apple Watch Ultra at max speed. If you're into video, think about the DJI Osmo 4 Combo. This folding compact gimbal has never been more affordable, and I'm saying this because I remember how much I paid for the very first model. The gimbal comes in very handy for outdoor shots in both vertical and horizontal orientations, and it's surprisingly good to be used indoors as a tripod, especially if you take advantage of DJI's tracking capabilities. If you enjoyed this video, then you should definitely check out my Get the Most Out of the iPad guide here. If you're into widgets and home screen setups, be sure to check out this video. Like and subscribe to the channel as well as my newsletter. And as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is E, over and out.